Story 1. I definitely think it was the right choice for me. I have to be honest with myself. I am a little lazy and selfish, and while I think I might have been a decent dad, I do not think I would have been a happy one. Story 2. On the one hand, I seriously envy my friends who have two lovely sons now in high school. On the other hand, I'm glad that I'm not my sister and brother-in-law who have two children aged 4 and 6. Edit. Who would have thought that my top comment ever would be calling my nephews spawns of Satan? They are absolutely a high-energy handful and frustrating to deal with right now, but they are good kids, and I love them dearly. I just moderate my time with them to save my sanity. Story 3. I am very glad to have been a part of the lives of my brother's children, but I would have been a terrible parent myself, so it is all good. Story 4. I cannot even take care of myself, let alone another living person. So I just do what I want with my life and have a great time doing it. It is pretty awesome. Story 5. I never once had the tingling feeling of wanting to become a parent. I simply do not have the desire or responsibility to raise a child, especially in the time we are living in. Then I met my wife, who thinks the exact same way. We both love traveling, backpacking, and camping. It is freeing to know we can get up in a split second and go. Story 6. Honestly, sort of sad, but not overwhelming. I was always ambivalent about having children. I would have been open to it if my partner wanted them, but he did not, and I was totally fine not having them. I still do not feel strongly about it. But that partner and I broke up a few years ago, and now that I am in my early 40s, it feels very strange to realize that the window is probably closed. As far as I know, I could still get pregnant, but my current partner and I are not in a place to consider that. Since we would really have to try immediately, I am accepting that it is just not going to happen. So yes, there is a kind of grief. But it is a strange sort of grief because I never actively wanted children and was always comfortable with the idea of not having them. It is more grief over losing the potential of having them in the future, I suppose. Since many people have asked why not just adopt, I will add that I am adopted through a closed infant adoption. Although I love being adopted, for many reasons which I have explained elsewhere, I have always known I would never adopt myself. Everyone is aware of adoption as an option, but it is a unique journey that should be chosen on its own merits, and not everyone is suited to be an adoptive parent. Also, I still do not actively want children. Story 7. It's strange because most of your friends who have children are completely consumed by their kids, so you don't relate as well with others. However, it is great because I have extra money and can spend it on whatever I please. I also have extra time to do whatever I want. Sometimes I want to do something with my best friend, but she can't because of her child. There are positives and negatives. Story 8. For a while, I was undecided. It wasn't until age 30 that I realized it was a choice and not an inevitability. In United States culture, marriage and children are a common life script. It took time for me to acknowledge that script was not a good fit for me, and it didn't solidify until my late 30s. For a while, it was about money and security, as well as environmental concerns and overpopulation. But it was also simply a lack of real desire to be a parent. I have often wished we could live multiple lives to try all the things, but in this life I don't want children. That was hard for me to grapple with because I was blessed with great parents, and my mother was a fantastically caring role model. But my biggest reason for thinking about parenthood was fear of regret. That is not enough. Parents should really want their children. This is a whole other human being you are bringing into the world. They deserve to be wanted, loved, and properly cared for. You are responsible for them, and it might not turn out well. Parental anxiety does not magically disappear after 18 years. For the rest of your life, you are a parent. There are also many physical things that can go wrong with pregnancy, especially for the pregnant person, which are not talked about enough. Our society has a very rose-colored view of pregnancy as glowing and natural. It really affects people's bodies, not to mention postpartum mental health. Many people will argue that not having children is selfish. This is puzzling because those same people will say that having children ensures you won't die lonely. If you need to be a parent because that feels like your destiny and you are full of love, that is one thing. But if you are having children to safeguard your own future, now that is selfish. not to mention the resource impact on the planet. If you are unhappy, parenthood won't fix it. If you are lonely, parenthood won't fix it. If you are following a life script in a daze, trying to check all the right boxes, take a moment to examine your reasons. If you want to be a parent, that is great. Best of love and luck. It is possible to live a comfortable life full of love while doing what you want, giving back to your community, staying open and curious, and generally living a good life without adding parenthood into the mix. Story 9. Pretty great. My wife turned out to be a narcissistic abuser, so I divorced her. 1. No children who would have suffered from her behavior. 2. No children who would have suffered through the divorce. I am more than happy to be the silly, fun uncle to my brother's children. Story 10. I wanted children, but my uterus decided that ejecting them would be a better idea. I sometimes grieve the idea of being a parent. Then I snap back to reality when the reality of my life makes me unfit to be a parent. I am on the disability pension for multiple sclerosis. I am legally blind, cannot drive, and have to depend on others to do things for me. I could not provide what I feel is a fulfilling life for a child. I get to sleep in, love my cats, and be the weird aunt to my nieces and nephews instead. It is what it is, and I am at peace with it. Story 11. I wanted to have children, but I couldn't, so sometimes I feel a bit sad seeing friends and colleagues with children. However, it is nothing I can change, so I usually do not think much about it. Sometimes, I also feel glad I do not have children, seeing how the world is going in a negative direction, and no one seems to care enough to make the necessary changes to ensure their children or grandchildren will still have a livable world. Story 12. After numerous miscarriages, we were in our 40s with no children. We would both do anything to have had children. If we had a child now, I would be 68 when they graduated from high school. Story 13. I am happy. I love sleeping in late on Saturday mornings, not driving to numerous children's sporting events, and never having to stand on the sidelines in the cold and rain cheering on kids or driving to party after party every weekend. I often hear parents complain about preparing school lunches, which is not an issue for me. Honestly, as a child, I never dreamed of being a mother. I never played with dolls or envisioned having children. I grew up in a very noisy house with too many people crammed into a small space. Many of my siblings quickly had children as well. I have been surrounded by kids and spent much of my life looking after others, cleaning, cooking, and doing general tasks. I just do not want to do that anymore. I go on decent holidays and am free on the weekends. I love the peace and quiet. I am very happy in my own company and have a very limited social battery. I do not believe I would have made a good parent. I like kids, but I feel I have sacrificed enough of my life looking after others, and I am happy as I am. Story 14, pretty rough. I only started to feel better and come out of the sadness when I took full responsibility for choosing not to have children. My first partner did not want kids until he was 40. My first husband was abusive and irresponsible. My boyfriends after that were non-committal. My second husband is amazing but has children, had a vasectomy, and felt he was too old to adopt or foster. The reality is I chose these partners. I have lovely adult stepchildren and I am an aunt and godmother. I have fostered rescue animals for 20 years. It is not the same, but you cannot always get what you want, as the song goes. When I have feelings about it, I have to take it on the chin. Story 15. Grab familiar, complete, squeal, unite, stable, fact, follow, offbeat, compare. Story 16. Kind of depressing. I want to be a dad, but I would rather let my mental health issues fade away with me. Story 17. As someone who has wanted to have children but has fertility issues, it has been soul-crushing. I have freedom, but the only thing worse than being disappointed myself is watching my wife struggle. Having and raising children is all she has ever wanted, and I have been unable to give her that. We are hoping to adopt, but it is an incredibly lonely and vulnerable experience, especially if you are not willing to go through a religious agency. Story 18. I am 47 now, and it's like dying a little every day. As a loss people refuse to let you grieve. My husband and I are both infertile. We couldn't afford in vitro fertilization since insurance doesn't cover it in our state. He took medication for nearly a year to get his sperm count high enough for intrauterine insemination. We had one attempt. It failed. I have polycystic ovary syndrome and took medication to induce ovulation. He started having scary side effects from the medication, so we had to stop. This was 9 years ago. Shortly after, his sister got pregnant with her first child and made sure to tell me she didn't want to be pregnant. Soon after, my youngest sister got pregnant and complained to me about how it took 3 months of trying to conceive. Then she made my life hell. The entire time she was pregnant with unhinged threats that I would never see her children again because I had a reaction to the flu shot. She also told me to suck it up when I called her crying about the infertility diagnosis. Other people have it worse, she said. We couldn't afford to adopt at the time. The attorney told us $60,000 was average, and we'd be on a waiting list for years. Plus, once we turned 40, our chances of being selected were slim. After the foster care classes and hearing horror stories, and being told no infants or toddlers were available for adoption, we backed away from foster care. Family was not supportive because of issues with another family member. Now I am 47. My older nieces and nephews have children. My youngest sister has children. My friends from school are grandparents. I regret every single day that we didn't go bankrupt trying to have a family. Now we make enough to make payments on a loan to adopt, but I am too old to be selected by a birth mother. Polycystic ovary syndrome has ruined my body. Insurance won't cover anything to treat it, and $1,500 a month for medication is still unaffordable. I am in perimenopause and have started ovulating naturally for the first time. The irony: I am the fun aunt. We take the little nieces and nephews places and buy them fun toys. My sister-in-law is broke with 4 kids, 3 from her marriage and 1 naturally, and expects us to do the expensive activities they cannot afford with her children. We do, but it is weird knowing how much she hates me. She sees us as a way for her kids to get to do stuff. Since we don't have children, we are expected to do all of the elder care. The "I have kids and a job" excuse is my youngest sister's favorite go-to when dad needs something. She lives 5 minutes away. I am an hour away. But 90% of the time she says since she has kids, she can't help him out. I work too. The older sister's husband has dementia, so they are spending time with the grandkids now because soon he won't know who they are. We have money to do what we want, mostly, but we don't have any time. We do for everyone else and are made to feel horrible if we don't. The trade-off for us is a deep longing to have children but no time for the freedom everyone says we have. Lately, I have been crying a lot about the whole thing. No one but my husband cares. We are just free babysitting and dad's helpers. I am running myself ragged and on the edge of a nervous breakdown. My older sister sees it, my husband sees it, but dad and my youngest sister won't or can't. My health is affected by the stress. I look at my friends' social media pages with their grandkids and children, and I think I have nothing. I hate my childless life. My husband can't even enjoy the freedom we didn't want because no one respects us or our time. Holidays depend on family inviting us to attend. Otherwise, it will just be us and the cats. People keep telling us we should have adopted or that we gave up too soon. Or if you couldn't afford the $60,000 to adopt, you are too poor to have children, as the male infertility specialist said. I asked if he had $60,000 just hanging around to spend on adoption, and he was shocked at how much it was. I am not always this bitter. This starts hitting hard around Halloween and continues to be a challenge until after Christmas. This is the hardest time of the year, but I smile and hide it. I don't want to hear one more "God's will," "God's punishment," or "you should have adopted." Nor do I want to hear "take one of my monsters, you will change your mind." Infertility is heartbreaking. Edited to add, I greatly appreciate the support and kind words. Infertility is complex and emotionally draining. Family dynamics are complex too. Many families don't understand that childless couples still have many other responsibilities. In our case, my youngest sister is a narcissist, and my dad may be also, although less toxic. My older sister lives under the shadow of her husband of 30 years, morphing into someone she no longer knows, who doesn't know many of us anymore and who is actively and slowly dying. We try hard to keep the peace. Story 19. Definitely no regrets. Having children is something I never even considered. Story 20. I am in my mid-40s. People of similar age around me mostly have children who are not yet teenagers, some even toddlers or babies. Although I once thought it would be great to parent a hypothetical dream child, we all know having children is unpredictable. I am sincerely glad I am not one of these overstressed, self-neglecting mothers who work full-time and also carry 90% of the caregiving and household chores, because I would find it overwhelming. Story 21. Hard. I feel like I missed out on the best parts of adulthood. First steps, taking my child to school, coaching little league, school plays, dinner table conversations, family vacations, helping them when they are hurt, Santa Claus, seeing them grow, arguments and apologies, grandchildren. It just never materialized for me. It's like I wasn't worthy of that gift, or even finding a wife to build a family. It hurts many days. I can put on a brave face, but deep down it's crushing. I'm 48, one sister who also has no children. Story 22. So thankful. I would have been a terrible mother, but I am an amazing aunt. Story 23. Can't believe there are people claiming child-free people do not care for the state of the only planet we call home. Of course we care. We have nephews, nieces, and family who will have children that we care about deeply. I was not even going to comment because I am only 34 without children, but you people with your assumptions can be annoying. Not having children is amazing for some and sad for others. Story 24. I have the freedom and funds to take off for a few weeks to travel anywhere in the world when I feel like it. I have done that a few times already, and it was definitely an experience every time. Or if I feel like it, I can do nothing at all. I can do whatever I want, and that is priceless to me. Would my life be better or worse with children? Hard to say, to be honest, but the freedom I have right now makes me feel like it is better than not. Story 25. Having seen my brother and his two small children today, they are absolutely fine and well, thank you. Story 26. The few years I was a parent taught me I do not want children. As much as I loved my stepchildren, I do not miss the constant and never-ending panic. I was always anxious. Living in poverty, I felt like I was failing them. I lived in a low-grade state of anxiety for 5 years, worrying about them constantly. I still worry about them frequently. In fact, one is currently sleeping downstairs because she is homeless. It is very different now that they are adults. Story 27. I'm not sure how to answer this because I don't know what it would be like to have children. I see all my friends and siblings with kids, and I see the beautiful parts. I also see the very hard parts. I see people who really want children and do everything they can to conceive. I just can't picture putting myself through that. I do know this. I love my life, every aspect of it. I love seeing my nieces and nephews grow up. I love that I can come home and have peace and quiet with nothing to attend to. I'm truly happy. This is what I wanted and it's what I got. But will I ever know how it feels to have children? No. Story 28. I never wanted children. It was my worst nightmare to have them. I did everything I could to avoid them, and I am very happy to have done so. Now I just need my work to respect my off time, and my life will be perfect. I have more spending power than everyone I know, and I can do whatever I like, whenever I want. You could not pay me enough to have made the other choice. Story 29. Feels great. I worked a long week, and yesterday's Saturday. I got out of bed at 11 a.m. I decided I wanted chocolate cake, so I made one that afternoon. For dinner, I sat with my wife and we ate a great frozen Detroit-style pizza, drank some good rum together, then ate chocolate cake with chocolate ice cream. We both played Fallout 4 and went to bed sometime between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. We have never had the urge for children and neither of us regrets not having any. Doing whatever you want whenever you want is fairly attractive. Story 30. I am 45. My sister is 40 and has 3 children, and my brother is 46 and has 2. They are happy and I am as well. I like children, but I knew I would not have family support to help me, nor a job that would adequately support a family. I also did not have the right partner during those childbearing years. All of these factors would have driven me into poverty if I had children. Thankfully, I never wanted children. My life never felt like it would fit. I enjoy my nieces and nephews and my friends' children. I like spending time with them but am relieved it is not me. Story 31. Honestly, it's mixed. I see my friends and family and how happy they are. I reflect on my own childhood and how great the moments with my family were. I have watched my grandmother go into assisted living. I know how horrible most places are and how much work my parents did to ensure she had top-notch care and was not abused or forgotten. My biggest worry is what happens to me when I reach 70, 80, or older. Who will help me navigate serious health complications, going into a home, or disastrous issues such as dementia or Alzheimer's disease? Society may neglect me because I do not have family willing to fight on my behalf the same way I would for my parents. I ask this same question to the other professionals I am friends with, and few of them have ever considered these issues. Lately, I regret not having children of my own. I feel like I missed out on a lot. I am well off working in the technology sector. Money is not a concern, but I find myself dwelling on this more. Story 32. I am 31 years old and you cannot imagine how happy I am to read these replies. Story 33. I knew I would never be fit to be a mother full-time, so I spent my 20s and 30s as a Girl Scout leader, having fun and sending the children home at the end of the meetings. Sometimes I wish I could know what pregnancy feels like, but I am glad I do not have a child of my own. Story 34. I am in my early 50s. Children just didn't happen for me, unfortunately. As with most things in life, feelings change around this. For the most part, I am content and at peace with it all. There are times, however, when I look forward and all I can see is loss. I don't mean that to sound depressing. I think for people with children, for the most part and in the usual course of events, the loss we experience as adults in middle age to old age, such as losing parents or friends, is tempered by the milestones that children go through: school, college, becoming adults, and then having their own children. This balances the loss. Life takes on new patterns, new firsts, and new joys. There is always something to keep you looking forward. Without children, I sometimes feel that balance is lost. I think this hit me when a parent was critically ill. The realization that for me, in the ordinary course of events, if the same thing happens to me at their age, I will likely be experiencing it alone. In other ways, I also think that there is freedom of sorts. As many have pointed out, children often bring vast amounts of worry and stress well into their own adulthood. Your heart is always at much greater risk of being broken. I am a worrier and a huge overthinker. I think the worry I would have had around my own children would have potentially destroyed my mental health. I would have struggled to experience the joy through the fog of constant worry. Story 35. I was bored today and didn't feel great because of allergies. I woke up and got in my hot tub with coffee. Then I made and ate Vietnamese spring rolls. After that, I drank coffee and played a few games. Then I started cooking dinner around 1 o'clock. I decided I needed to get some yeast to bake bread for dinner. While I was at the store, limes were on sale, so I decided to make margaritas and bake bread. Then I got in the hot tub with a margarita. I relaxed for a while, fed my animals, and had company share my margaritas for about an hour. After they left, I ate dinner and watched whatever I wanted on television. I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and I wouldn't change a thing. Story 36. Perfect. I decided at 14 I did not want to, and I stayed the course. I am serene and do not look back. Nor does my wife. Story 37. Lonely and sad. I have a son somewhere. Many years ago, I was dating a woman who ended the relationship when she became pregnant and gave up the baby. I only found out about the baby because I received mail I was not supposed to get. The adoption was final, and I could not afford a lawyer or fight for my rights. I can only hope they look me up someday. The worst part is that most of the children in my family suffer from serious genetic problems, so I do not even know if he is okay. Story 38. Pretty great. We get to stay up late, sleep in, travel, eat whatever and however we want. Not that people with children don't do those things, but we don't have to negotiate who gets to sleep in or try to balance several different palates every time we make a meal. We live close to my sister's children, and the neighbor children call us aunt and uncle too. It's great to be near children, a trusted adult in their lives, watching them grow and sending them home. We are great at parenting in small doses, like 4 to 72 hours, and love having a quiet home to recover in after we send them back. Story 39. I enjoy my quiet, clean house and disposable income to spend on whatever I want. However, I know I would have been a great father, and I am sad that I did not get to be one. Story 40. Pretty good. I am 55 and could retire tomorrow if I choose. Story 41. Amazing. My life is wonderful. Fixed at 26. I am now 46. Story 42. Both somewhat sad but also somewhat freeing. One of the main reasons I did not is I did not feel I was stable enough and did not want a child to experience some of what I did growing up. But now I have more money and have settled down more than I ever expected. Pets are a great substitute conduit for that lost aspect of life. The only drawback is their short lifespans create a lot of pain along the way. Story 43. It feels like freedom. A few weekends ago, my partner and I packed our car with our dog and drove a few hours to get some food at a place we heard about. I slept in this morning. Most evenings, I make food based solely on adult taste buds. My evenings are mine. I play board games, read books, play video games, do puzzles or crafts, watch sports or streaming shows and movies, and go to bed when I'm sleepy. Sometimes I go out with friends for dinner and attend theater, concerts, comedy shows, or other city events. There are no kids crying, no fighting, and no chauffeuring to sports, hobbies, or playdates. It feels easy, comfortable, calm, cozy, and quiet. It feels like freedom to do what I want when I want with whoever I want. Feels fantastic. I have never once regretted not having children. Story 44. I always wanted to have children, but when I look at the state of the world, I am glad I did not. Story 45. Great. First of all, I do not like children. Secondly, mentally, I am still a 16-year-old stoner. I even live like a 16-year-old stoner and have as much money as a 16-year-old stoner, so that would not be a good environment to raise a child. Story 46. As a woman, amazing. I had a hysterectomy at 25. I am 43 now. I never wanted children, and I was told maybe I would want one someday. I was never that kind of girl. I never wanted a child. I am so glad I had a hysterectomy early, so I can enjoy the rest of my life without female pain. Story 47. In my early 60s, I love not having children. I am happy for my friends who have children, but I do not envy them for a second. My girlfriend has an adult daughter, and there is still a lot of stress there. The same goes for my younger friends with young children. I know they love them and would choose the exact same path, and so would I. Story 48. I started my 40s without a child, and it was pretty good. I now have a child, and it is still pretty good. But it is a different kind of good. Story 49. I regret that I will not have the love one shares with their child. But honestly, I am in my 40s and only now recovering from intense mental abuse throughout my life. I was not the same person as I am now. I know I would have been as emotionally unstable as my parents and would have subjected that child to my family, who are like a den of pit vipers. Escaping them was only possible because I outlived them due to their various addictions and issues. I would give a child the same upbringing I had, and that frankly would be heartbreaking. Story 50. I am a high school teacher. Although I have no biological children because I never wanted any, I enjoy my lifestyle and prefer to afford my horses, cats, and dogs. I have thousands of students whom I can be proud of, care for, and mentor without the financial responsibility. Story 51. Scary. I may have a couple of fertile years left, but my partner does not really want children. I will not know how I feel about it until it is too late. I do not feel ready yet. I cannot imagine growing old without ever having children. I wish I had more time. Story 52. I love my life, thanks for asking. I am married. My husband never wanted children, and I was neutral. Because I don't have children, I have the time and freedom to nurture a number of important relationships in my life, including my nieces, nephews, and close friends. Children. I travel frequently, have a career I am passionate about, hobbies. This year it is watercoloring, and am financially secure. I know that I could have many of these things with children, but definitely not all of them, and there is nothing I would give up about my life today. Story 53. Like a relief. No guilt about bringing children into a dying world, not having to always worry about them and if you are doing right by them. I have a lot of freedom, and if I cannot work due to an illness I have and struggle to make ends meet, I am not depriving them of anything. Also, I had very bad parents, and I would hate for the cycle to continue. Am I a bit sad about not having children? Yes. But I think it was the best choice for me. Story 54. Kind of weird, original poster. In our family, we could not have children and we feel kind of alone, if that makes sense. In our group of friends, we are the couple with no children. It is a bit strange. Do not get me wrong. I know the benefits, especially financially, but I just wanted to share a different perspective from a couple who wanted, but could not have, children. Story 55. Amazing. Married almost 35 years. Last winter's vacation was 10 weeks in New Zealand. Story 56. It's a huge regret, but I really did not want to be a single parent and I never found a life partner. I was pregnant once, but I made a choice. No judgment on single parents. My parents were married and middle to upper middle class. I have a much younger sibling and I realized it is a lot of work even with a partner and resources, logistics, pickups, days off school, extracurricular activities. When do single parents sleep? I could not imagine doing it without a partner and resources, which I did not have in my 20s. In my 40s, I did have resources and seriously considered adoption. But then I realized that I wanted the whole deal with a husband, not just a child. I felt I would lose more than I would gain if I did it alone. Again, logistics, especially dating as a single parent. I will never know if that is true. When I decided I was not going to have children, I made a decision to do the things I would not be able to do, or at least not as easily, with children whenever possible. For $100 dinner for myself, yes. Gala tickets, yes. 2-week tour of Europe, yes. And any other reasonable thing. Children are expensive, so I might as well spend the money on myself. Do I still cry over it sometimes? Sure. Having a husband and children was my life goal. I actually did not have career goals until recently, but I cannot change it. Since you only live once, I am going to enjoy it in a new way. Oh, and my neighbors have great kids, and I get to play with them and send them home when I am done, which is great. Story 57. I'm fine now, but I would be lying if I said I am not scared about the future. Once my parents die, I will be completely alone. Holidays will be very sad for me, especially. Story 58. Great. I'll never understand these posts that happen every 3 weeks. Life is great. What more do you want to know? I am sorry, but people who think children are a magic solution to fill a void in your life are not well adjusted. Story 59. I wanted children, but it didn't happen. It is difficult not to have had that opportunity. I sometimes get caught up in existential dread, thinking about the fact that my genetic lineage stops with me and I am leaving nothing behind as a legacy. On the other hand, I know having children would have been very challenging. Even as a child, I understood that to have children, I would have to be okay with being a single parent. Even today, it seems men continue to demonstrate an inability to take equal responsibility for raising their children. As a disabled person, it is hard enough to survive and advocate for myself without dragging a child into poverty to advocate for them. My children would likely be disabled too. I see friends struggling to get their special educational needs children access to even basic education, and I am glad I do not face that. I get to do what I want with my money and my time. I get to rest and have plenty of alone time, which I am grateful for. I feel bitter about the lack of opportunity, but also glad. Story 60. I never really wanted children or understood why people have them. Now, in my late 40s, I realized that children serve as a distraction from one's own existential crises. As mortality and other fears become more prominent, children and their youthful energy make life more interesting and worth living. If everything around you is aging and decay, life becomes very boring and depressing. Story 61. Amazing. I just got back from a month-long work trip to the European Union. I am heading to Las Vegas next week, then Texas for fun. I had a spur-of-the-moment drive to spend the weekend with another child-free couple in their cabin near a national park. We drank, cooked, and built a huge fire. My biggest problem before work tomorrow is finding the energy to bring some plants inside because there is a frost advisory tonight. Story 62. I guess it feels normal. Weird question. It is not like a status or switch control. I suppose it was a good call. I would not have been a proper parent and totally unqualified to raise children. Many say otherwise, but I know deep down I would just fail. I am surprised so many other people are having children, and I now understand why the world is the way it is. Because parents are failing them and really should not be raising children. Story 63. The best decision of my life. My father left me when I was 3 because he wanted a boy instead of a girl. He had 2 boys from a second marriage and was an amazing dad to them while hiding alimony payments and erasing me from his life. Men like this should never reproduce due to bad genetics and lack of empathy. So, I deliberately stopped his genes from continuing through me. At least he will not continue himself through me. Story 64. It feels like something is missing, and it is too late to change what is now inevitable. Story 65. I'm 55, my wife is 54, and we have been together for 37 years, married for 33. We are very happy without children, especially seeing how many of our friends are burdened with kids who have psychological issues, having to work longer to pay for their college, and so on. We originally planned to have children, but it turned out we could not conceive. We went through fertility treatments for over a year. I had no interest in raising someone else's children, so we did not adopt. I worried that it would damage our relationship, but after about a decade, in our mid-30s, we both felt like we avoided a major problem. I am planning to retire in 1 to 3 years. I could retire now, but we are working on selling our house and moving to a different state. I feel very fortunate. I have friends who want to retire and could be financially able to do so if they did not have children. One thing that changed our perspective was that my wife worked in a nursing home for several years while I finished my Doctor of Philosophy degree. She saw how many people ended up stuck there whose children never came to visit them. Of course, maybe those parents were neglectful, and their children hated them, but this situation does not seem uncommon. Most people will fear regret no matter which path they take. But so far it has not materialized for us. We feel relief and happiness. Story 66. It may sound strange, but some people might understand. If I were a man, I would probably want to have biological children, but as a woman, I cannot really imagine it. Story 67. Great. Just like people with children, both lifestyles are going to be rewarding if you are happy inside. Just accept your path and do not beat yourself up for falling short of your dreams. Story 68. I don't think the cost of being childless is really felt or paid at 40 or 50. Those ages are still pretty young by today's standards. A 50-year-old might not want to go out as often as a 20-year-old, but they are still able to lead healthy lives with enough social interaction. As someone who deals with end of life often, it is the people who are in their 70s and 80s who might have benefited from building a family. Some people say it is selfish to have a child for yourself or that it is overly hopeful to think you will be friends or close. If you do it exclusively to have someone to take care of you, sure, that can be selfish. But many people want the closeness that comes with a family. You can get that with siblings and good friends, but a social circle really needs generational diversity, as anyone your age will eventually either die or be unable to hang out regularly. Extending your family beyond your generation can create a closeness that is rarely replicated otherwise. I have seen adult children showing real love, care, and affection for an older parent more often than such closeness in other groups. I have always been family-minded, but working in medicine really highlighted the better parts of building a family. Even dysfunctional families tend to have some closeness. I have found parents who do not get along or are hated by their children to be the exception rather than the rule. Story 69. I try not to think about it too much. I always wanted to have children, but mental health issues, the death of a partner, and problems with my uterus got in the way. I had thought about having a child alone, but I do not think I could handle it, so I did not do it. Story 70. Amazing. I do not regret it for a second. I work when I want, do fun things when I want, and have extra money and free time. Story 71. I've had an especially hard time accepting it recently. I always wanted to be a mother but struggled with unexplained infertility. I've had 3 early miscarriages over the years, and fertility treatments were unsuccessful and drained us financially. Now that I'm 42 and perimenopausal, it's finally sinking in that my chance at motherhood has passed. Coupled with the fact that I was recently diagnosed with a chronic and potentially terminal disease, even fostering or adopting is most likely impossible. Luckily, it's not a deal breaker for my husband, or at least that's what he says now. He's much younger than me, 33, so I often wonder if 5 to 10 years from now, he'll begin to have regrets about marrying someone 9 years his senior. All that said, I have very much enjoyed being the cool aunt and excellent dog mom. My niece and nephew are now both in college and have already pledged to keep me out of the nursing home when my husband and I get too old to live independently. Story 72. Wonderful. I slept in, had a nice breakfast, and now I am working on getting my little race car ready for next season. I have never regretted my decision to be child-free. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.